Tony John in conversation.
Bo, we worked together, and that's how we met each other. And that was in 1991 or 1992, if I'm not mistaken.
1991.
1991. That's when I met you. What a fateful meeting that was. You are unmissable, and you're unforgettable because of how you worked when I first met you. We were about 50 meters apart, 6 offices or 5 offices between, but I could hear you yelling and screaming at EMI at that point in time, and you were overseeing production, right? Production of CDs and cassettes. And that also mentions or gives away how old we are. Okay, there was still cassettes being produced. That volatility in your behavior at work, right? Your passion, let's put it that way, always shocked me in the beginning. But then it was even more shocking when I realized after work, you were sitting down with the same people you were screaming at on the phone, having drinks, dinner, and having a good time, right? How do people balance that? How do people not take it personally or take offense at someone who's upset about something in a professional context and not let it creep into their personal lives?
Well, firstly, for me, it's always been work. I know how to separate work, personal life, and I don't like to mix the both of it. I don't want to be nice to an idiot at work just because I have to be or politically correct. But I make sure I explain to that person that, what you asked me or what you did is stupid. But that doesn't stop me from treating the person with respect and dignity at any point of time. Of course, some of my methods of dealing in 1991, I mean, it's 30 years, it's different. You yourself graduate and you learn finer skills or better skills of how to communicate with people effectively. And so I would say I also went through the evolution of communicating effectively. I can't do what I did in 1991 now. Those days you did not have social media. Today I will be.
So it's because of that. There's a record.
Not because of that only. I think that's also your own personal growth.
Yeah.
You cannot be what you were in 1991. In 2022, you want to be the same, behave the same. It doesn't work that way.
So I'm going to talk about the increasing scale of what you're doing now versus then, right? But still, the person that you are now, the learnings, the skills you've developed in leadership, in dealing with people, etc. Do you think, how do you think it would have influenced your role back in 1991 if you had this knowledge that you have now?
No, I don't think so. It would work that way. I cannot see what I am today and see how it's going to fit. Then I would definitely not be the same person in both ends. Cannot be. This is a growth. That it's an evolution.
So it was necessary. That moment was necessary for who you are.
That moment was necessary, and then moving forward, you deal situation, the things around us, with technology, with how people. Someone who's 22 now is very different when I was 22.
Yeah,
completely different. They have access to information, a lot of information where they behave in a different way than what I was at 22.
So you were very young when you started at EMI, right?
Not exactly. I think I was about 26.
Oh, you were 26 at that time.
Yeah.
Okay. We were all very much younger, let's put it that way. What led to that moment in time? What was childhood or school life like for you? Because when I saw you operating, right, you seemed so in control of what you were doing, so confident of what you were doing. And maybe I processed your behavior as confidence. You were so sure that you were willing to even raise your voice, scream at someone, and you got to be really sure about a position you're taking for you to sort of lose your temper, right? So I saw that as, how did this guy build so much confidence at such a young age? So I had to wonder, did something about your upbringing or school life, what contributed to that?
I don't
Sorry, I
should-
want to add one more thing because
Yeah.
you were dealing with people who were much older than you as well, on the other side of the phone, right? Or the other side of the table.
I don't know, maybe it would have been a middle child syndrome. I was always a rebel at home. Uh, I think it was just my personality.
Yeah?
Yeah. I am sure you know that if you looked at rest of my siblings, I'm
Yeah.
completely different.
That is true.
Yeah. And so I think it was just in me. It's not something that you acquired or put on. I just hated things when it doesn't go my way or the right way. Not say my way. Maybe at 22 it was my way or the highway, but over time was actually the right way. And for some reason, I hate to say this, but I always see 3 steps ahead what's going to happen.
Why you hate to say that?
Because many people, I mean, some people think, you're full of yourself. But I can see in every situation, I will know, I'll pre-plan. That's what I always get annoyed with my driver. I'll tell him, when you drive, see 6 cars ahead, what's going on. Just don't not lock with your blinkers and just see what's in front of you.
And you've felt or you've had this ability to see steps ahead from as early as you can remember?
Yes.
How was it as a child being able to see that?
Annoying.
What do you mean by annoying? Tell me.
How do I say this? I'll just find everyone around me incompetent.
Even as a child.
Yeah.
Did you express
I won't
that?
say it when you say a child. I most probably will say maybe I was 12.
Okay, so as puberty set in, as that adult consciousness was creeping in, you started seeing the incompetence of others. Did you vocalize that?
I mean, I think it's a wrong choice of word, incompetence. I don't know, maybe I had intuition, or maybe I just could see things differently than people around me. That doesn't mean they are stupid or anything like that. It's just that my senses were heightened. That's all.
Okay, so
It's a bit different.
and that I guess that can be uncomfortable, right? At that age, when you see or you can envision something, but you're along on the ride and someone else is in control.
Yes and no, because I knew that I'm not in control.
So you learned how to let go.
Yeah.
Really.
I think that skill helps me a lot even now.
So I recently spoke to a friend who went through a depression, right? And he told me that 2 things, which coincidentally are both songs, are the only way you can deal with a depression, right? And one is Let It Go from Frozen. He said you have to let things go. You can't hold on to things, right? Because that's the worst thing to trigger panic or anxiety and a depression. And the other is Beatles' famous Let It Be. Accept things as they are. And it sounds really weirdly funny that I think what you're saying is to let it go and let it be.
Firstly, let me clarify. One, I was never depressed.
Yeah.
Secondly, yes, you let it go. Similar times when we had arguments over the phone, and I said, it's not about me wanting to be correct. So I say, it doesn't make a difference to me who wins the argument. So I let it go.
Did we have arguments over the phone?
Yes, we did many times.
I think I've let it go. No, but actually what I loved about what he said was, I think it's not about depression. I think it's such a good lesson for every human being to learn to let things go and don't hold on to things,
When I say let go, some things you cannot let go.
Like what, Bo?
Let go in a big sense of word, maybe an argument, but that doesn't mean we have to let go things on which is unjust. When someone is oppression or treating someone badly, that I don't let go.
Okay.
So
But that's
let
you have
go.
a moral compass kind of you
Yes,
still, right?
I think the moral compass is very important. I think the most important thing is it's not about winning an argument. It's not wanting people to see even your point of view. It's not important. It's what you do is important.
So the action you
Yeah.
take in the world
Yeah.
versus the things you say in the world. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be a world stage. It could be a village. it
Yeah.
could be a city, or I mean, everything starts from the home. You know, it could be in your office. You
Yeah.
know,
I had a conversation earlier today with a very young man who's 17, right? And we were talking about that conversation starting with yourself, within yourself. And I think that is where it begins. You need to have this conversation with yourself as well, you know, kind of
of
like
course.
a reality check before someone else needs to check your reality, right? And that's what I always marveled about you, which was that's you're so consistent. You've been so consistent since the day I met you 30 years ago, and yet your life is just totally different on a day-to-day basis, right? But you have remained completely intact as in terms of your values as a human being, in terms of your nature, how you treat people. Nothing has changed. And I think it's important to put context into what's different. But to start off with creating that context, when you were at EMI, you were in charge of production. EMI had what? I don't know. I don't remember. 50 people at that time.
Yeah, I would say about 100.
Okay. Can you say what you do today and how many people directly connected to you and your leadership?
I think in EMI I had only one person reporting to me, and most probably after that in Warner, not more than 5 or 6, uh, because of the scale of the business. I think in AirAsia, I have 20 direct reports, and I think in the aviation sector, indirectly, 90% of them are under my watch.
And what's the total number of people?
I would say about 17,410 now in aviation. All over the
17,410.
yeah, all over the world.
Okay. Just to help people understand, is it fair for me to say AirAsia is like the equivalent of the EasyJet of Europe?
Yeah,
Yeah?
it's a low-cost airline
Okay.
that's based out of Malaysia. Not only Malaysia, joint ventures in Thailand, Philippines, and Indonesia. And yes, we basically provide low fares.
And it is the largest low-cost carrier.
The low-cost carrier, that word low-cost, I think was coined many years ago, but no means that the airline itself is low cost. It's not to say that we take out a window pane or chop off a wing or anything like that. That's why we change it to the lowest fare. We offer the lowest fare.
Yeah, the way people put words together
Yeah.
has a massive impact. And
Yeah.
it's true, low cost feels cheap,
Yeah.
right? And
No, low cost means very wrong in this day and age, because I think people think that you are cutting
corners.
corners,
Yeah.
which is not true at all.
So there's a fundamental problem in terms of, for example, today there's a lot of awareness of sustainability and green practices, ethical management and running of businesses. And I would think from a surface level, definitely I would make the assumption that low cost means you would be inconsistent with these values, but you guys are so driven by these values, right, as a company?
ESG, I think in Asia is started a couple of years back. The full scope of ESG, I don't think so many people know. Even me, for that matter, now I'm looking at it. We have people working on it in terms of the scope of the ESG is really, really wide. And, I read the book, which was basically from the regulators. It's something like 1,000-page things that you need to do. It's just not about environment.
Things you need to do in order to be ESG compliant?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially if you are going to be listed in the US stock market, even the Malaysian stock market. Of course, you got time frame. And this is just not about the environment, about fuel savings and so forth. This also means about human capital. How do we treat people in the workplace? Even your suppliers, how is there? You have to check and see whether your suppliers have best practices. Do they treat their employees well? Women's welfare, are they equally salaried equally, and so forth. So it's a huge what do you call, requirements and depth into in ESG.
So not just internally, but by extension, the people you
Yes,
work with,
yes.
they also need to be
Yes.
compliant for you to get that.
Yes, how
Okay.
you get rid of your waste, recycling, and so forth. So that's most probably the last card you will get, because from when I get back on Monday, all my name card will be in QR code.
Okay. Okay. Is this feasible for a company as complex and large as an AirAsia?
You can't do this overnight.
Yeah.
But I think over time you can, and I think it's a must for us. For us itself, I think it's a must. It's a good thing to do.
When you say us, you mean the airline?
I speak only for the airline.
Okay.
Okay.
But can I find out how you feel about the us being society?
We do recycling at home.
Mm-hmm.
We separate oils, we separate bottles. So doing everything else for the environment, or even the person who comes and collects garbage, I think it's a good thing. So I think we should do it.
Okay.
You know, and I'm sure we see all around us what's happening to the environment, what happens in landfill, and recycling is a good thing. You know, I'm sure you know how much of water it takes to produce one T-shirt.
Yeah.
You know, so the examples are endless.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I guess it's also about consumption, right? And consumption habits and behaviors. Yeah? And that is something else that is a trait of yours that I find quite interesting, which is you are very low consumption as a human being, generally speaking. Yeah? So again, going back to who you were in 1991 with EMI 100 people versus AirAsia 17,000 people today, right? You've remained the same person, meaning you didn't, in a linear way, based on your level of responsibility, you know, your level of status and title in the job that you do. You didn't decide that it should linearly also include more stuff in your life and more, you know, you remained you, right, on this journey. I find that interesting. Because if I were to put myself in your shoes and if I had that same path, I'm not sure that I would have as few things as you have in your life. And I'm wondering, is this something you're mindful about, you're aware about? Or again, is it just who you are and
I'm very mindful of it.
you are?
One, I think a lot has got to do with ego. A lot of people have ego. If I don't have an ego, it's not true. But how you keep it in check. But a fancy car doesn't make you a better person, or a $1,000 shirt doesn't make you look better. I do buy on very rare occasions. It's just because I like it, not because it's going to make me look better or I'm going to feel better. It should not be. I can wear a $20 sweater and I'm fine with it. I'd rather donate the money. I'd rather help someone else who's hungry.
That's another interesting point you raise, which is you do that, and I know you do that a lot, but very few people know this about you, right? Why do not more people know that this is something you practice, the act of giving?
I don't like to tell people. I don't need to.
But
I encourage them to give or help, but that doesn't mean I have to tell them what I do.
Okay, but don't you think your example can be quite compelling and powerful because of who you are?
I think people who know me generally know what I do. I don't need to spell it out. I don't need to say it. I don't need to make any announcements. If they don't know, that's fine, you know. I think it's how I behave and how I interact and how I socialize with people. I think a lot of people have a pretty good idea.
For you, that's that that spread, that oil spill effect from your close circles, makes you feel that it's sufficient?
Yeah. Bottom line is, I don't go for recognition. I don't need it. I don't thrive on it. A lot of people say they need encouragement. They need someone to pat on your back and say you did a good job. I don't need all that.
When I hear something like that, and I know it's true because I've known you almost, all my adult life, right? Again, I keep going back to wondering what happened to you that has made Bo this version of a human being since I've known you. I mean, I got to know you at an age where most young men are so driven by the desire for acknowledgement, so driven by ego. Have you not wondered why that thing didn't have such a power over you?
I know a lot of people ask me, colleagues ask me, why don't you go and buy this? Why But I don't see a reason accumulating wealth or having ego or wanting to have power on another human being. I really don't see it. How is that going to benefit me? And my conscience will never allow me to do it because...
Your conscience would never allow you.
Yeah.
What does your conscience tell you?
Because I'm going to be haunted on the thing that I did something that's not respectable. In my dictionary, someone else can do it fine, if their moral compass say, this is what I want to do, this is what I'm going to accumulate, well and good.
So, it's interesting, this whole first part of the conversation, right? There is a saying by Gandhi, and it was, I must reduce myself to zero, right? And I don't know what the context was, but I knew it was an idea that he had and he practiced, which is the less I have, the less I will be enslaved by dependency on things. There's a reduction, so the reduction to zero becomes the ultimate state of being, right? He never claimed that he achieved it, but he said that was his practice. His constant practice was to reduce himself to zero, right? What does that mean to you, though, that statement?
No. I have no intention of reducing myself zero, wear a loincloth and sit anywhere.
I don't think it's literally about that,
Yeah.
but the concept.
I understand his context because for what he was fighting for and what he was doing for. I'm sure you know me and you've been to where I live. I don't like to hoard or accumulate anything because I don't see a purpose in doing so. Maybe in 10, 20 years I'll be dead. What do I do with all the things I accumulated? I'm never attached. I don't want to be attached to material things.
Could that be what Gandhi meant?
I don't know. I just don't want to.
What is the reason why attachment to material things is uncomfortable for you?
I don't know. I think in my view, seeing what's happening around the world and people that are around me, I think when you attach, my personal view, when you get attached to material things, I think one is greed, second, ego, all creeps in.
Okay.
I've seen a lot of that, but I could be wrong too. For some people, they could accumulate a lot of wealth and be not all that. So I don't know. For me, in my case, I just want to keep myself in a right balance and check, and I don't need them.
Yeah, I think
and I must be able to say, if one fine day I should be very comfortable living in a hut and not being depressed about it, going back to super basics. It might happen. It has happened to many people, and tomorrow I could be jobless. I could have lost everything in one way or the other. What do you do? Moan? Cry?
So is that preparation for...
You got to be prepared every day for all events.
So every day is training for any eventuality.
Yeah. But not in a religious sense or whatsoever, you know me by now. Yeah. I think a lot of people get, what's that word? I don't like to use the wrong word because it's not nice. People get confused or get absorbed in material stuff, and they work for material things to accumulate. For me, it's the other way around. I don't work just because I can buy a nice house or buy that or buy this and so forth. No.
But you have no issue exercising your purchasing power to buy something nice, but it's because, as you said, you choose to because you like that, right?
Yeah.
So that's very interesting equilibrium. I don't think maybe your remark earlier about you've seen how greed and obsession can creep in, right? Or with regards to material things.
Even don't need to go that far. You can see even own families. A lot of people where families, are split because of greed.
Yeah.
That I
Yeah.
can safely use that in that context.
I find that really bizarre. I've witnessed that. Let me put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And you can't rationalize it. You can't explain it in your head. And all I felt when that happened was that there's some worm that's made its way into the brain, and it's messing up the way you process information and think about things, because there's no logical explanation as to why a focus on something material can completely distort the sense of reality. You know what I mean? Where you stop seeing someone for who they are. It's all about that material connection, and their behavior is influencing that material connection and your entitlement to it, right? And I don't understand that. I find it very confusing as well, because it feels like insanity to me sometimes.
I can think of fear, greed, and ego comes in place in all this time. You don't need to understand them. You only need to understand yourself.
That feels like a very deep wisdom there, which I need to reflect on. Bo, speaking of wisdom,
Why burden yourself with other things when you can better yourself? Change yourself, and the world around you will change.
I
And
love
maybe you have an opinion of that person very differently.
Yeah. Stop focusing on the other,
Yeah.
right? When there's so much about yourself, you can still focus on and make more fulfilling, I think. So all these little things that you're telling me are very interesting patterns of thinking, practices, things you've learned, right? One of the other things was, and that again goes back to the very start of knowing you, was a clean desk policy. When you had one person reporting to you, you had a clean desk. Now you've got 20, and by extension 70,000, and you have a clean desk still. And I know I've seen your desk, and it's a clean desk, right? Why is a clean desk important?
I'm generally a very clean person.
Yeah.
I don't see a reason to have paper on your table. I think the only thing that I have on my table is the brass letter opener that you gave me 30 years ago, and you and Veronica, and I have my pens. That's it. Nothing else on the table. In this day and age, everything is in your laptop, in your iPad, on your mobile devices. So why do you need? I hate clutter.
That's
Yeah.
that's where I want to get to, because it's not about the fact that information now is digital. It's the fact that you never allowed things to accumulate.
No.
What does that mean beyond the work sphere? How does that? You are practicing that in your private life. I know this. You declutter your life, right? Constantly, right? Why is that important to declutter your life?
I think one is I don't want to hoard things, because it's a natural in humans to buy things and keep and keep. It's just like when I bought this yesterday, I told you I'll give away my other sweater because I'm not going to take it back. And I always had a policy: if I buy something, I will give away something. I will never. It's always basic necessities, and that's it. I don't know. That's the way I am, and I don't see a reason. And it worked well with me. I think you will have less things to think about, less things to manage. Why do you need so many things? And that clutters your brain, because you got to think, oh, where did I put this?
I think Steve Jobs had kind of like the same philosophy.
Oh, is it?
He almost had nothing in his home. And the only things he had were things he really loved. If I remember the story correctly, he initially had no sofa, no furniture. He had just a carpet or something like that. And then one day he bought a sofa, but it was a sofa he really loved, the design of which. And he kind of maintained that, I only want things I absolutely love, and I want no more than I need.
Yeah.
And that also
The
was
operative word here is need.
need, yeah.
It's not what I like. It's what you need.
So he took it to the extreme by deciding that he found the perfect turtleneck. I don't know who it was. I think it was Yoji Yamamoto or something. That black turtleneck he had, right? And he found a pair of denims. And the urban myth is that he had a closet full of only that turtleneck and those denims, right? And the argument was that he didn't need to think about his wardrobe. He found something that he found absolutely comfortable in. So now he shaved that time of having to think, what am I going to wear today, by knowing I'm going to wear something I really like, I'm really comfortable in, right?
True. I agree with
So
you.
that's very efficient, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
And yet I know you, and you are. That's another really fascinating thing about you. You do see, you do like things. You like clothes and stuff like that, but also the biggest change, going back to the two snapshots of 1991 Bo and 2022 Bo, is that image has come into play, right? Not in a negative sense, but I guess you've understood the value, or the meaning of image has changed for you. And I want to know, what does image mean to you today?
Uh, I don't know whether you're referring to a exterior image of
Let's
a
start with that. Let's start with the exterior.
I think in every situation, I mean, if you're going to go at an event, you got to be dressed up in a certain way. But that doesn't mean it has to be Gucci from head to toe. You are just presentable. And second, I think it's how you interact with people. Apart from that, I don't see I am any different from or anyone else is different from me or anything like that. It's a very simple thing. There's a dress code to go for an event, and that's about it. If you can go casual, you go casual, and nothing to do about that you got to conform and I got to do a certain way. It doesn't work that way.
So a dress code, I guess it begins with you accepting that a dress code has purpose and meaning.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah?
course. If a restaurant says you got to be black tie, then you got to be black tie, or you just don't go.
That's another choice, right?
Yeah,
The choice is
the
always
choice is
open.
yours. If you don't want some things, you got no choice when it comes to maybe to a conference which you think is necessary, then you comply.
Is your image today, now let's go to the internal part, right? What do you think the difference is in the internal image that people get of you today versus the you of before?
I don't know.
Have people not mentioned this to you? Hey, Bo,
I won't even mention it here because I hate to say things to glorify myself.
No, but it's not glorifying. I just want to know what is said.
No,
And
I mean-
I can do a reality check for you, because
Yeah.
I've known you for a long time, and I can tell you whether I think, okay, then they don't know you well enough, because
No, I think a lot of people will agree with you of what you said earlier.
which is what?
That they have not seen me change. I'm the same person. Even when I have colleagues who've been with me for 5 years, they see that I lead a very simple life, and they all be very curious why. I mean, they assume that I'm wealthy, and why am I not spending money and getting this and that? Why aren't you doing this? So, in the simplest way, I explain to them, I don't need it.
At the same time, right? When you are the CEO of a major company, the largest low-fare carrier in Asia, you're an Asian company, but you're not Asian anymore. You're global,
Yeah.
right? And on that level, when you're a global player, there are global games going on, right? And they're quite detached from the man on the street. What's going on, right? What happens when you're playing when you're playing on that level, when you're playing those games, when you're in those spaces that very few people have access to, right?
Honestly, there's no games up there. Even if you are a global company, I think you conduct sensible business. You do things right. I don't think so. There's any games to play,
Okay.
or you don't need to play any games with anyone. You know, as
D-
long
but and that's how you practice,
Yes.
how you carry yourself, right?
Yes.
Are you seen as an anomaly, an abnormality to the norm? I don't know, and that's why I'm asking.
I do not go for any meals with any business partners. Maybe you don't know that. I think I have so far, if business partner, maybe only one company, a very renowned company that has bought me dinner twice. Everyone else will be, you buy me dinner once and I'll buy you back. I never take any free meals or freebies or whatsoever. Nothing. That's always been my life philosophy.
So again, I asked a question about this example you gave, right? Is that you mentioned it? Does that make it unusual?
I don't know. There could be many people like me out there. I cannot assume that I'm the only one.
But you mentioned it, so I got to assume that you do feel okay. This is one distinguishing factor
Yeah,
to the way it normally
I
is.
suppose so.
Yeah, I think that's also it goes back to what you said earlier. Today, there's social media. There's a kind of public accountability that's immediate and intense. I mean, it can go global instantly. And I think there's a kind of way people did business in the past that cannot be the way anymore. You know, that you have to adapt with the times, right? And okay, tell me. I like that expression on your face.
I don't know. As you know, different strokes for different folks. I think for me, I don't worry about all those rules, as long your moral compass and you know what you need to do and how you conduct your life, and it always leadership by example. You know, your fellow colleagues and your staff will see what you do, how you behave, and how you conduct business. I don't need to go and publicize it or go and tell everybody. People will see and know what you do.
So it's
If you do the right thing, you won't go on social media. If you do the wrong thing, it goes on social media.
That's very interesting. And if you don't have your ego in check, if you're not in balance, that can be an issue, huh? Because you're never acknowledged for the things you do right, but you're punished for every little mistake you make, right? But you have to build that resilience as a CEO, right? Don't you think so? To be a good functioning CEO, you have to have that resilience to not take the things people overlook in the good work you've done.
What do you mean? That means you're asking why I'm not basking in acknowledgement.
No. I mean the exact opposite, which means to be an effective CEO today, you can't be feeling uncomfortable when your wins are not acknowledged,
Oh,
but
no,
every
not at
little
all.
mistake is
That doesn't bug me. Then you're not suited for the job. Then you should not do the job.
Bo, I wanna ask you about one thing which is very sensitive, right? But it made a big impression when it happened, right? When the worst possible thing occurred as an airline, which is one of your planes crashed, right? I know that whole period was very, very intensive. Firstly, having to deal with that, right? And the loss of life. That's where it starts, right? The loss of life. But I know you were hands-on and upfront in also being there in person, dealing with family members, etc. Right? Did that change anything in how you functioned in your work, in your job?
Of course.
Tell me what happened. What changed?
I think you got to be a lot more alert. You got to be. I think you get to have a lot more empathy, and you got to make sure that your workforce understands of past experiences that we have in every sense, how we conduct business, how we interact with our passengers, with everyone. The whole thing changes in terms of safety, in terms of what do you call how everyone works in an environment where everyone has got to be very alert. So something of that kind of a accident teaches you a lot of new things. So we don't take anything for granted. And personally, for me, I think that's a lesson that will last me lifelong.
If I may ask, right? What are the details of that lesson?
There should never be another accident. That's it. So that's something that I'll always be mindful, and that's something that keeps me awake every night. That's why my phone it's never turned off 24/7 ever. Only when I'm on flight. That's also on takeoff and landing.
That sounds intense, because it was intense, right?
Yeah, of course.
But can you control everything?
You can't control everything, but you must be able to everything that's within your control, and you must do everything that's supposed to be right.
So
Everyone got to be super alert in any business that you do. You must make sure that you're super alert.
With so many people, right, working in, and again, I think an airline's a really complex business. So many moving parts, constantly moving, right? Almost no part stops, even for a moment. It feels that way. How do you separate the noise from the signal, in terms of, because you're overseeing this business, right? I'm in a small company with a handful of people here, and already sometimes I have a hard time separating the noise from the signal. What's effective signal versus just ambient noise, right? How do you do that at scale the way you do?
I don't know. I think it's something that I'm so used to over the years, and I somehow have mastered it. I know what needs attention and what don't need attention, and who I can, pick up the phone and say, look at this part of it. So most of the important stuff I personally look at, and anyone can contact me, whether it's the cabin crew or the ground staff or even the boy who carries the bag. I know most of them, even from 20 years ago. Maybe now in different countries will be a bit difficult, but I know most of them. I won't say personally, but when I interact, because I absorb proper information, I want to know about them, about the families, or if they have any issues or whatsoever. So many of them text me because we have an internal communication system or a chat group, so they can connect me anytime, 24/7.
And that's just a default personal policy you put out to the world. If you need to
It's
reach
not a
me,
default policy. I think when someone tries to reach you, there must be a reason. So I don't want to be the person that say, go call this person or tell someone else to handle it. I'll normally ask why. What's up? What can I do for you? And from then I'll have an idea. Someone might be reaching out for a very compelling reason. Nobody wants to reach out to you for nothing, just to see.
Yeah. But that I guess has been something people have discovered over time, right?
Yeah.
Because I can only assume in the beginning people were calling you for not so compelling reasons also, right?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Because that leads me to this other thing that I've been thinking about. That's the main reason I reached out to you and said, you're going to be here in the city. I want to talk to you, which is the fact that you are the group CEO of the biggest airline in its category, in its segment. There's status, there's influence attached to that, right? And you're a public figure. You're no more.
I won't say
No,
I'm
no,
a
no. But
public
not in the sense of Tom Cruise or whatever. But you're a public figure, meaning your face is there for everyone to see, right? And the funny part is, ever since we knew each other, you had this standard mantra you told me, like, I don't have friends, I have acquaintances. It's the biggest load of rubbish because I know you are a friend. I am your friend. You have friends. I know that.
Not by choice.
Right?
You imposed your friendship on me.
Sometimes that's how friendships are forged, through force. But my question is, you began already with that kind of position. You were always very meticulous in this area of friendship. You were very meticulous in the people you curated and allowed into your life. You were very protective over your private life, right? And yet I know you have friends. You have people you've allowed in, right? And I've been away from you in terms of we live in different parts of the world for quite a long time now. So I don't know your day-to-day, who's figuring in your life or not. But I do know, being a public figure today, a lot of people want to be your friend. A lot of people want to say, hey, I know Bo. Hey, I got Bo's number in my phone, right? I can call him whenever I want to. But what is your practice with regards to who you allow in your life today and who you don't?
I've got very few friends. I think I can count within my fingers. Close friends, but there are others. There are neighbors, there are work friends and so forth. But it's all in the context of casual. We're not going to go and have dinner every day or whatsoever. There are a bunch of good colleagues and good fellow co-workers that I regularly catch up with, because I think in that sense it's good, because then I know what's going on, because sometimes I'm so busy with work. So that's one of the ways where we socialize over a meal, and that's about it. But apart from that, I love solitude. I like being alone and thinking and doing things. I could go and help out some underprivileged children. I don't need an entourage. I do it myself.
See, the problem with you is that that's exactly who you were 30 years ago already, right? So you are, like I said, you're so consistent that I can't say in any way, oh, this has changed about Bo. This is different about Bo. This is you. You were also the same way about who you spent time with 30 years ago, right? But I often hear stories about how people who attain that level of success or influence or wealth or whatever, they become really skeptical about intention. They become suspicious of people who want to get to know them, etc. Do you understand what they might be going through and why they might feel that way?
I don't know, to be honest. I don't want to speculate. With me, I rather do things where I can focus on a lot of different things that's going to make a difference. I hate to have idle chat with someone, even friends or whatever, wasting a couple of hours or half a day or something. I just don't find it beneficial. I honestly don't.
Well, that is you. I mean, that's
Yeah.
honestly who you are,
Yeah.
right? And I guess solitude then is a very comfortable thing if you're happy and content being alone with yourself, right? I think a lot of people.
But that doesn't mean that I don't do anything.
No, but yeah.
I do a lot of things on my own that I want to plan
For sure.
and so forth, learn new things, or read, or as I said, I go alone and do a lot of stuff for the community or underprivileged people and so forth.
Yeah, that's the one thing though that is interesting, and I mentioned solitude because a lot of people pay a lot of money to learn how to be happy with themselves. You know what I mean? They're investing so much because they see the importance of it. But I think it's quite a rarity that people truly, genuinely are at peace being alone,
Maybe it's fear for people.
Fear of what, you
of
think?
being alone. They don't know how to be alone. It's not about being lonely, it's about being alone.
They don't know how to be alone. Do you think we are hardwired as a species to not be alone?
Maybe. I can't say for sure. because I don't feel lonely being alone. I don't. I have a million things to do. I wish there was 36 hours in a day.
I don't feel lonely being alone either, but it's not because I have a million things to do. It's because there are some things I would love to indulge with more, and I enjoy my own company as well, when I'm doing those things, right? It's true. I have a struggle with the concept of loneliness. I have a struggle with that because I don't know whether I've ever experienced loneliness, and if you've not experienced something that you've heard the words described, and you can't relate to them, it makes it very hard for me to understand what it means. Have you ever experienced loneliness?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah?
Definitely. There are always moments of it. You just got to get out of it, because I think the best part is live for today. Don't think about tomorrow in a big way. I think it's when you let your mind wander. So your mind wanders to all the negative stuff. So you have to keep your mind in check.
So how do you do that?
I just don't think about it.
Okay, but
Don't
sometimes
need to, yeah.
in meditation, the thing you're trying to block becomes the reason why it's impossible, to block it.
As I said, many people have different methods. It might work for them. For me, I don't need a thesis. I know what exactly that works for me. Many people might say it might not work for them. Well and good. There's always been my mantra is change yourself and you'll see the world around you change. That is good enough for everything.
Is there one example you can cite of how you practice this, a change in yourself, and you saw the spill effect of it?
I think when I don't like someone,
Yeah?
then I'll think.
I love this.
I
Where are you going with this?
I analyze why actually I don't like this person.
Okay, and then?
A person might have said something, and that triggered something in me to have a bad impression on that person. On a normal self, then you'll say, I'll dismiss you, and you're finally, I'll never ever see you again or have a conversation, or you're just gone. But sometimes I analyze it and see, why do I say that? Why do I feel that way? And then I feel maybe I should change my opinion, and things will be a bit different.
And you're saying you've done that,
Yes, I have.
and the world changed around you.
Yes.
Tell me, when it comes to liking or disliking a person, when you changed that opinion, how did the world around you change?
I begin to like that person.
Really? Really? It was almost a textbook. You went from dislike to like. Okay.
You should not build an opinion. I mean, it's very hard. But I try.
That is fascinating.
It doesn't work for it doesn't work on every individual. Some I definitely don't want to ever see again.
But you still go through that mental
Yeah, of
exercise of
course.
analyzing
Yeah.
why you would have felt a certain way,
yeah.
right? Remarkable that you make the time in your ultra busy life for that exercise. So it must have value to you. Huh?
Yeah. And especially the person knows that I don't like that person, and the person comes and asks me.
Okay. That happens.
It does.
That you're confronted with
because
someone's
I don't,
feeling.
me, I don't pretend.
Yeah, that is true.
I
yeah.
very clearly make it known that, you're pissing me off, or I just don't like you. So there are people who come and approach me and ask me why. I say, let me think about it and I'll come back to you. Or if I have to say sorry, then I say, I think I was wrong and I'm sorry.
Upon thinking about it, and there's some instances where you immediately know you should apologize.
Yes.
Okay. That's a very powerful thing to do, to admit that you were wrong, actually. Yeah. And I think it's fascinating that there's an exercise going on within you. No, I'm not talking about the egocentric, I'm always right.
Yeah.
But, again, going back to I only have acquaintances, I don't have friends, right? And if you dislike someone, it feels personal, right? But one would think, because of your default position, friends, it's all acquaintances, it wouldn't be something you would invest your time in, but you do, and to the extent of apologizing to people, right, etc. And I think there's a wonderful humility in that, because a lot of people feel so invested in an opinion, right, that they almost dig their heels in the stand, to stand by what they say, and it causes so much distress
In that person
in that
himself.
person. Yeah, it's not about the other; it's about you.
Yeah.
And you carry this, and it bugs you all the time. Bo, I want to ask you something about COVID.
Yep.
Your industry was hit really, really badly,
Yep.
right? Everything grounded, no travel or whatever. Did those 2 years fundamentally change the meaning of an airline?
Yeah, it did. I think we spun a lot of new businesses. There's teleport that does cargo. We carved out from the aviation. So the aviation sector is now basically airlines, which is passenger from point A to point B. So we have started a platform business where you're booking, and there is also grocery and so forth. And then the group did financial services, which is called Big Pay. And then I have my engineering outfit carved out, and now it's an MRO by itself.
What's an MRO?
Maintenance organization. That means basically where your aircraft goes into checks and all.
Okay.
And we are building a hangar with about 7 lines. 7 lines means you can put 7 aircraft in there. And by end of 2023, will be open for business, so we can do any airlines, any planes.
Okay, so
So-
these are individual business lines now.
Yeah, which was previously within the airline. Now we have broken down and put them and running them as units by themselves,
So
independently.
in the past, these units were serving the airline your own
Yes,
airline's business,
yes.
but now they can serve anyone,
Yeah.
right?
Earlier, they were not even carved out as standalone companies. They were
Okay.
they were like a department, like the engineering department. So we have because we wanted to monetize them, and I think there's a lot of value in it. So basically, with the board and management, which is Tony and the shareholders, decided that this is what we are going to do. So in the 2 years, we were not keeping quiet. We did a lot, and we did a lot of innovation, prepared. As you know, we did all touchless, and in Asia now, almost all the countries that we go in at the airport, you don't need to be there early. You web check in, you come and drop your bag, and off you go.
Reaching that point, so interestingly, you said the 2 year period gave you space, right, to think about this, right? But to reach that point where you spun these all off as independent businesses, right? How long did it take to arrive at that point? Literally, how much time did it take with the board and Tony and yourself and everyone else?
Less than 2 months.
Really?
Even with COVID, we used to go on on video every Monday and discuss things what we are going to do, because from 200 aircrafts, we only were flying less than 10 aircrafts for most of the time, and even with COVID, so we had to think how to survive and be innovative. So we worked with a lot of partners with Google and so forth, many other companies, even whether it was virtually in the 2 years, and came out with plans what we wanted to roll out. So in a sense, that 2 years was like period for us to rethink how we want to do business, how the business model is going to be of the future. And so that's how we spent our time.
How, is it? No, actually, I want to rephrase that. It is unique to me that AirAsia can execute so quickly. It feels unique to me.
I think when you have a culture of innovation, not only in the top management, with everyone, and then there's good communication, any staff, we have all the channels where staff can send us feedback. As I said, we have a internal chat group where they can actually not text only me, even text Tony Fernandez and anyone with an idea, how do we do it? So that collaboration and that communication within that 17,000 staff, that goes on a daily basis, and there's a social media, internal social media, that we do a lot of things. We post stuff, what's going on. So staff get to see what we are doing, and then I can see the comments in there. There are not always everything will be, but even the not so good comments, we analyze and see what's happening here. So that's how you improve. You have 17,000 people to give you comments on the products and services you're offering.
Yeah, that's quite a focus group, huh?
Yeah, you don't need to go and hire consultants and do this when you got 17,000 consumers, passengers who are within your...
Yet, not every organization is doing this. Are they missing the boat then, are they missing value, built-in value that they have already?
Of course they're missing value when you have that many people in an organization which is spread across the world. So they are the best information you can get, and they are the best people that are, you could find a product or an idea somewhere in Yogyakarta in Indonesia that the rest of the world don't know.
Something unique about AirAsia that has resulted in this being the culture of the company. This awareness.
I can answer that very easily. I think it's the flat leadership and the communication.
Flat leadership.
Yeah, I mean, when I say flat leadership, there's no you got to go from someone needs something, he has to go through 10 channels to reach it. There's no such thing. They can just walk up to the 6th floor and see any of us.
So, Bo, does that mean anyone working in AirAsia, right, has a feeling that if they wanted to, they can contact you and speak to you.
Yeah.
If they wanted to, they can contact Tony Fernandez and speak with him, etc.
Yeah.
That's the reality of being part of AirAsia, right?
Yeah.
And
Not
yet,
all the while they can call
but
me,
yet I was just going to say people don't
messaging.
Yeah,
but
and people don't abuse that. Huh?
No, they don't.
They don't.
Yeah, of course, some ideas, that we find it's not practical, we tell them it's not practical. Maybe we can't do that because end of the day, the mantra here is cost. Everything about this business is cost. You have to have everything at the lowest cost. If not, you can't offer the lowest fare.
Yeah. So there's a driver, right? There's an overriding kind of element that you have to consider. I want to talk about a myth, not a myth, a legend of the legend of AirAsia, right? And for me, the legend starts off at the point where a guy from the music industry, right, decides that he's going to buy an airline, which was Tony Fernandez. That's where the myth or the legend begins, right? Here he is, people thinking this guy's nuts. He has no experience running an airline and he wants to buy an airline that's in debt, but he has the confidence to do it, right? Legend begins there. The second part of the legend that's super mind-blowing and interesting is that he starts hiring a whole bunch of people from the music industry to set up the airline now that he owns, right? So that's true, correct?
Yes.
Now, has that in any way, how has that shaped the AirAsia that it is today?
First, you don't need to be in the aviation to do that business. I think that opened up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people around the world or around the region, I would say. In my case, to me, it was a challenge. I never wanted to do it long. When Tony was leaving and I bumped into him, then he told me, come and join me. And I said, no, I'm not interested. I just want to leave. Then he said, no, you come and join me for 6 months. Here I am after 20 years.
Is it 20 years old?
Yep, 21 this December.
Okay. So initially 6 months. That was your yes was a conditional yes, a 6 month yes.
Yes. Here I am.
And what happened in those 6 months that made you stay on for the 7th month? and then the 7th year, and then the 17th
No,
year?
it's a very easy thing. I wanted to excel, and I felt there was this sense of those who are, some of them are still my colleagues or some are still my staff, who doubted that we could do this job. Remarks were passed, definitely about me as well. I wanted to prove them wrong. So
Wow.
I read up everything that needs reading from engines. There were some good senior guys who were there, retirees, and I basically sucked their brain, how an engine works, how an APU works.
What's an AP?
Auxiliary power unit, APU. So I learned everything. So nobody can bullshit me now.
It began with people questioning your ability.
Yes, to work in an, not say ability, to ability to be part of an airline.
It's so interesting. I have to think of The Last Dance, this documentary about Michael Jordan. Have you seen it?
No, not, I
Okay,
can't remember.
you have to watch it. It's one of the most incredible things I've seen, right? And what's really fascinating is this was the thing that would push Michael Jordan. The moment someone told him he couldn't do something, he would just invest like a maniac in doing it. He would, if someone said you couldn't do 3-pointers, he would apparently spend hour upon hour, thousands of shots just to prove them wrong. And it could be, the funniest part of that story is, it could be the most insignificant person that has no value to him as a professional basketball player. But the fact that someone would dare challenge his potential, his capability to do something, drove him to do that, right?
I'm not to that extent because I've learned to move on. I think it was only the initial part of it. If someone told me something today, it won't bug me.
Why is it
I
the
grew-
young man's
Yeah,
young man's?
I learned, you learn and you grow. It's an evolution. So you don't let this kind of things bug you anymore as long as you do the right thing.
But you became a person with a depth and wealth of knowledge, right?
Yeah.
As a result of that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And what was the most provocative remark that someone passed about you that you can say, okay, that really pushed me, that really made me want to invest to prove them wrong?
Nothing in particular. It's basically whether, when a situation arised, this was the very early days, I could see them. They left the situation to me and all of them just disappeared.
Okay, so leaving you with the bill that they thought was not payable, right?
Yeah.
So now you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Wow. That feels like a betrayal almost.
No, I don't find it a betrayal.
No?
That's baptism of fire. I did it, and I wanted to make sure that I succeed, that I learn everything about the business.
Ibo, if I heard your remark correctly, you still work with some of these people.
Yes, and they're good people.
Excellent.
And good people.
That is really excellent to hear. Really excellent. Listen, you gave me your new card and your last card that you'll ever give in paper format, right? And it says AirAsia, the digital airline. What does that mean, the digital airline?
I think because we are doing a lot of digital innovation, that's one, and also the platform business is what we have broke. How AirAsia, solely everything, marketing, engineering, all were there. They are now all separate companies. Separate companies, and we have evolved in a lot of digital activities from platform business. Like, can I say? We have something like Skyscanner, not only for, if you go to an AirAsia Super App website, you can buy seats from Qatar, Swiss Air, Turkish,
that-
KLM,
okay.
anyone. It's not solely caters to AirAsia anymore. So there are so that whole thing has changed. Even though they are part of the group, completely arm's length transactions, I don't have any say over them or whatever. So they can do anyone. It's very agnostic.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah.
Because from the perspective of what is the brand then? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know, for the longest time when you said AirAsia, a picture formed in your head. This
because
was an
everyone
airline.
considered you to be an airline.
Yeah,
we
correct.
don't want to be an airline. So that's why if you go to the website, you can see this logo is just for the airline. For the super app is a different logo. The only thing we share is the name and the color.
The name remains AirAsia.
Yeah.
So there's a graphical logo, which is this one that I'm looking at.
That's
is
for the
unique
airline.
To the airline, but the graphical logo with the words AirAsia changes for the platform business.
Yes.
And
it's not even
that's
an Asia. It's just an A.
A. Okay, so there's a fundamental difference in the
Yeah.
word that you read, right? It's a letter A, and that's the agnostic business, right? That's the digital airline, but it's still the word is still.
No. This is also a digital airline because everything here that we are doing, we are no longer selling seats in the traditional way. There's nothing. Everything is online.
Everything is online.
Yeah.
That business, right? The platform business. What label would you put on it? Is it in is it in travel and leisure still? Is it?
Travel, leisure. The platform, just like Amazon, predominantly selling seats, and also there is selling grocers. There's like Uber, we have called AirAsia Rides, and then we have medical, AirAsia Health. We have lots of lines of business in that platform.
Okay, so it's an app that lets you do everything you need to do in your daily life, basically. If I understood this correctly, it sounds a bit like what WeChat is in China. You can do almost everything with WeChat.
Yep.
People think it's a chat app, but it's not. It's also a digital ecosystem, right? Where everything you need, from your insurance needs to your financial needs to a mortgage to whatever, everything can be facilitated within.
Yep.
So that's,
Yeah.
is it A or is it AirAsia?
We have insurance.
Yeah.
We have you can do what's that? If you want to send a parcel, a courier service, we have that. If you want to buy groceries, you can buy groceries on AirAsia. You want to buy medical health, you want to buy a spa package, you want to have a package tour and travel, you also can do that on AirAsia. So there's lots of lines of businesses.
And this is across all markets you operate in.
Yep.
That sounds very complex.
No, it's not complex. You can even book it here if you're going to go to any destination that AirAsia flies to.
So theoretically, I can, if I'm going to go to Bali, let's say, I can book my flight, I can book the place I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
I can even buy groceries to be delivered on a certain day at that location in Bali.
And duty free. If you want to take an Instagrammable picture in some, for example, Tokyo, you can even book that.
You can book an Instagrammable picture in Tokyo.
Yeah.
What
if
does
you
that
want to
mean?
shoot. Say some people, these days Instagram, they want to go to a certain area, they want to snap, get pictures there.
Yeah.
So we will arrange it for you.
And
Let me show you.
yes, please. I'm really curious about
I'm
this.
surprised you don't have an AirAsia app. See, this is the
I
logo.
tried to download it. I wasn't allowed.
This is the logo. This is the AirAsia Super App logo. If you go here, see, you can see food. Can you see?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yeah.
You see
All the
flights. Okay, you look at all the icons.
So there's flights, there's hotels, Snap,
Snap is a bundling of hotel and travel.
and then there's Travel Mall. So that's duty free.
Duty free merchandise and so forth.
And then there's Ride, which is your taxi service, your
Yep.
transportation service. Food Express is courier.
Yeah.
What's Super Plus?
Super Plus is when we have promotions where you can buy like a travel pass. That means for unlimited flyings for a amount.
My goodness. So right now, again, anyone can download this app, right?
Yeah.
I'm not living in Asia.
Of course.
I can still, and I can access all the services.
Everything. Of course, you can't order AirAsia rides in Amsterdam.
No, but for sure. I mean,
Yeah, when
logically,
you are-
yeah.
yes, yes.
But logically, every citizen of the globe is your potential customer
Yeah,
for something like
yeah.
this, correct? And
Even food, I mean, certain areas, for example, if someone wants to buy fried rice from Bangkok, they can buy fried rice from Bangkok. Say today, say we were to order from, say, Ban Kanita in Bangkok, one of the famous restaurant, and we will deliver it to you the day
in a different location.
in a different country.
That's a bit. That's a bit future world. That's a bit Black Mirror almost. Right?
The best part is because we got 7 flights to Bangkok daily, and it's a 2-hour flight. If you pre-book your say if you want to have a fried rice from this restaurant, say if you book it today and tomorrow, I can send it to you. So if you puts it on a 10 o'clock flight from Bangkok, you'll arrive here at 1 p.m. in KL. Just nice. You can have it for
That's
lunch or
incredible.
dinner, yeah.
And ironically, sometimes getting that fried rice from one part of Bangkok to the other might take longer and getting on a flight, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting.
But it's not everything.
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
And also now we actually basically, once Japan opens, we will also be looking at a lot of Japanese food stuff that can withstand the temperature, the weather, something that we're able to bring, maybe even sushi, because there's a lot of packaging that's being, innovative packagings are coming out, which I can keep for 24 hours before it arrives.
But I think the moment you start contemplating food, it is quite extreme. Huh?
Yeah.
I mean, it's perishable. You consume it, you put it into your bodies, right? And if you guys confidently can say, we can even get your sushi delivered from Tokyo, this sushi place in Tokyo, to Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, of course, it comes with proper packaging and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that is super ambitious. Were there naysayers, were there skeptics saying that this is crazy to think that you want to go to this extent?
I think there are people in this, companies in this world that do that. Might not be in that region, but surely around this region or even in America.
So everything, every icon in the app, right? There are companies that are really great at it, huh? Really great with courier services, food deliveries, whatever, you name it, right? However, there's this old expression, a jack of all trades, a master of none, right? But I don't think you, being the person that you are, would ever accept you are a master of none. You want everything you do to be on the level of excellence, right?
But let's not give me too much of credit. I'm not doing those.
No.
I'm only holding on to the aviation part. There are different, all those line of businesses have their own management group. They have a CEO who drives that. So
Correct.
we collaborate within all these companies. I work with AirAsia Rights. I work with all the other companies, AirAsia Health. So when at the height of COVID, we even had insurance. So we made sure that we packaged something very affordable, where you paid something like 10 euros for 10,000 US dollars worth of insurance. If you go, say, for example, if you're in Indonesia or Singapore, you fall sick due to COVID, so your hospital bill is covered. So we collaborate within all the line of businesses in the group.
Understandable. And I didn't assume you were running all of this, but still, I think it's quite a feat to have so many different, very specialized areas where you have, best in breed companies doing great jobs. And here's the ambition of a brand to say we are going to step into all these areas, right? Because it's still a singular experience. Huh?
Yeah,
Different.
that's Tony's vision, and we execute, There's always a visionary who sees all these things, and we all work with and execute this. If you ask me, can you do it? I say, of course. It takes time, it takes good coordination, need good technology. That's where different people with different skills come in and we put it together.
I'd love to be a fly on a wall in observing how these visions get shared, how the discussions take place, challenging the vision, exploring the vision, and suddenly you have this happening on a screen.
It's hard work. It's not everything a smooth ride. We have lots of arguments, lot of disagreements, but we reach common ground and common goals.
Yeah. and the common goals become realities.
Yeah.
The realities prove to be challenges individually, but still, I know that your mindset is the reason you're there doing this is because that is kind of like the culture of the company.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone is running one of these divisions with a kind of laid back, it doesn't matter if we are not excellent attitude. You're
Oh, no,
there
no.
because you want to be the best at a courier service. When there's a great courier service, whether it's DHL or whatever, playing in the same, in the same field, you still are there trying to be the best, right? And I think it's quite interesting to understand how all these different units that are driven by a need for excellence can come under one brand and one experience that you're offering the people. It's new, right? This.
I would say last year.
Okay,
Last
so
year.
it's relatively new.
So during that time we basically changed the whole website, changed the whole app, and so we did a lot of tweaking. It's still going on. Still a lot of work being put on it. So on a weekly basis, you can see something new.
What's the ambition for this?
If you say what's the ambition, I think we want to make sure that we become a very good ASEAN app. We'll be the preferred app, the preferred flying partner, the preferred courier partner, the preferred rides. The AirAsia rides not only in Malaysia, it's going to be coming out in Singapore very soon, in Thailand soon. It's the same with our MRO AD. We'll be setting up hangars in Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand.
So both on a B2B and a B2C level,
Yes,
you
yes.
want to be the top of mind,
Yeah.
one-stop
Yeah.
solution,
Yeah.
right? Connected to
Fast,
travel.
fast, value for money, and efficiency.
So from a layperson's point of view, for me already, I find it very interesting because I have an issue with, for example, one example is cabs, taxis. I know in different countries in Asia, there are different services. Uber is not everywhere. There's Bolt here, for example. There are different stuff. It would be very interesting if there was one app on my phone that took care of all these things. The convenience seems utopian almost to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
Instead of having, I'm going
I
to
think
travel to
that's the
Thailand.
reason that we came up with Super App. It's same like I think in China, as you said, WeChat.
Yeah.
It's a multi-purpose or multi-service app.
Yeah. And it's like the one app you need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that will become
Yeah.
the end game, right?
Yeah.
It's the one app you need. You don't need anything else. Bo, I'm going to wrap this up with a question about this place I am. So, I'm doing this because of, I'm doing this to explore ideas with people that are very unique and authentic in my perspective, in my opinion, right? So everyone I have here, I think, are real individuals with your own personality, but also people who are themselves, really themselves. And I consider you one of them, as I've already expressed too many times in this conversation already. Another thing I want to explore with people is black and white thinking, right? Binary thinking, which I think is very hard in the world that we live in today. You always have to be able to be in the gray, and I think we covered that today. When you said you're considering things now, considering opinions, etc. That for me is allowing yourself to be in the gray. You're not black or white anymore. It's not I don't like you. End of story. Full stop. Right? You're pondering these feelings that you have. But the third thing, which is what I want to explore with the people who sit across me, is the Netherlands. As you know, I've been living here for over 20 years now. I'm really fascinated by this tiny speck of a country, and the impact it's had historically in the world, and what it is today, even the culture, etc. You've visited so often. We've seen each other very often. And I'm very curious, what is the Netherlands to you?
I love all their breads with raisins.
Actually, this is a great moment to plug this one bakery. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Hertog.
The stolen. I was just talking to Veronica this morning.
But okay. I know that we're laughing, but that is true. You do
I
love
love the
that.
food. I think the food. I mean,
You're going to be the first human being on earth who said, "I love Netherlands because of the food."
no, because you get a variety of food here.
Okay.
I mean, we have tried Thai. You heard my comments. You got Indonesian. You got. Even though I'm closer to this food in Asia, so when you travel here, you can experience different food, and I just like the vibe.
What's the vibe to you?
The vibe here, I guess, a lot of. It's very alive. One. Second, I think you also feel very safe. I don't need to worry about safety here, apart from some countries. So I'm comfortable here.
Okay.
I'm comfortable. I think that's the best part of
You're
it.
comfortable.
Yeah. When I find something, like the hotel that I stay, I don't want to go and discover other hotels because I'm very comfortable. I got no complaints, and it's so convenient.
So if I were to generalize this, one of the pluses is this place, this city, this nation in general gives you a kind of level of comfort
Yeah.
that you find appealing,
Yeah.
right? If I were to play, if I want to say I want to learn from you about what could be things to improve in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, or what would you say? As you're such a frequent traveler, you've seen so many cities, so many countries, so many parts of the world, experienced so many things. Where do you think we have a nice foundation to improve on?
Okay, let me think here. Uh, I don't think so. Amsterdam or Netherlands does enough to promote what they have here. Everybody knows. Most people say, "Oh, I can go to Amsterdam and smoke pot or weed or whatever," but that's not Amsterdam. There's a lot more things to do here, to eat, and even me, getting out of Amsterdam. People need to know. I mean, of course, the number of tourists that are coming here, you don't want to keep on going to the tried and tested road. They should be offering a lot more different things. We have a concert. I don't see that being communicated. What's the yearly program in Amsterdam? I don't know. I could be wrong. I think everyone will take it for granted that everybody knows Amsterdam and this is what I come and do. And you can see that, I could be ignorant. Apologies for that, because everyone comes here. I can see them concentrated in this area. And do they know there is more to Amsterdam, to Netherlands than just Amsterdam? Or the same matter, people go to Barcelona or Paris in France.
Is there a possibility that one day the super app, right, might be fixing this problem for outbound Asian travelers?
Oh, surely. I think when borders open in Japan, Korea, there are a lot of things that since we fly to Korea and Australia, a lot of things available on the super app in Australia and Korea. As we go, yes, and as and when AirAsia X, the other long haul airline, starts flying again, then we'll have a lot of collaboration. There'll be a lot of more content. That's when we will basically ask countries to, hey, you better show me what others you have apart from the usual tried and tested.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about this, Bo? About why you need to have that physical link of a plane flying to Amsterdam or to London or to Paris, right? In order for a digital platform that's giving you convenience to do things, to operate already.
Not necessary, because we are also having a lot of airlines. In Super App has got KLM on it as well. We can basically sell this experience. So it is for the airlines and the countries that they are in to offer these services on Super App. There is a team in Super App that explores all these things.
Okay, very good. So theoretically,
yes,
I could, through Super App, one day discover all the things I can do in Amsterdam, beyond, and the rest of Holland, right? That's theoretically something that could happen even before a plane bearing the AirAsia logo lands in this part.
Not
right?
necessarily, because Super App's agnostic. They can even use it on KLM. For now, I think we are in a big way promoting spas. I just heard about a spa in Austria, I think, where they are collaborating. They're also putting a lot of people go to spas.
Okay,
all
so
over the world.
there's a spa now you can book through Super App or soon.
Yeah.
That is in Austria.
Austria,
Okay,
Bangkok,
so-
Switzerland, you name it, anywhere. So that's where the part of the wellness comes in, which I'm working on, with collaborating, getting people to work with Super App.
Bo, I'm going to end it here with this one remark, which is I'm going to be so excited one day if I get to enjoy the country I live in more thanks to an app from your company.
Thank you very
That would
much.
be lovely. Thank you for your time, Mr. Lingam.
Thank you for having me.
Enjoy the rest of your stay in beautiful Netherlands, okay?
Will do.